What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, what I want to talk to you guys about is trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon and my attempt at it last week. But before we get to the video, I want you guys to know that you are greatly loved, and that you are wonderfully and beautifully created, and that you guys are capable of far more than you could ever imagine. Let's get to the video. For those of you that have been following my channel for a while, you guys know that I attempted to qualify for the Boston Marathon back in 2017, which I did. I ran a 3:04:58, which at that time the qualifying time was 3:05. Sadly, my time was not fast enough to run the Boston Marathon. I would have had to run about a 3:02, I believe, that year to actually get into Boston. So, since that time, just to give you guys a little bit of background where my fitness has been. So since that time, just to give you guys a little bit of background about where my fitness currently is and what I've done since then, is back in 2017, I tried to qualify for the Boston Marathon. Since that time, I ran a marathon with a 20-pound vest. I ran a marathon with a 40-pound vest, and then I ran an ultra marathon, and that was leading into my first year of residency. And so if you guys see the name change to Ironman MD, that's because a lot of my videos, hopefully upcoming, will be showing the life of being a doctor while doing triathlons. And so anyway, during intern year, I ran the ultra marathon. And then after that, I was kind of like, you know, what could I do next? I want to be able to show people that you can stay healthy, that you can stay fit while in residency, and especially during your hardest year of residency, which is intern year. So I ended up training for an Ironman April 2019. I trained for 16 weeks, I believe it was 16 weeks, or 16 to 18 weeks, and then I did the Ironman. Super awesome experience, absolutely loved it. And then since then, I did a half Ironman with my beautiful wife. Again, it was such a fun event. And then after that, I decided it is time to train again, try to qualify for Boston Marathon. Now that the time is much harder, you have to break 3 hours. So now, not only am I going to get to do something I've wanted to do, which is qualify for Boston, but also another huge challenge, which is breaking 3 hours. Okay, so I decided that I would start my training January 1st and then of this year, January 1st of this year, and then I was going to run the Little Rock Marathon March 5th or March 1st. So why did I pick Little Rock? I picked Little Rock because it is a very challenging course, and I figured if I'm going to break 3 hours, if I'm going to qualify for Boston, I want to truly challenge myself and see what I could do. So I'm going to run the Little Rock Marathon. So training, give you guys a short bird's eye view of my training, and I'll give this more detail later on. So January 1st, I had actually just ran the Disney Marathon as part of my training, but throughout January, my training pretty much was 6 days a week of running. So Monday would be an easy run, Tuesday would be speed work, Wednesday off, Thursday tempo work, Friday easy run, Saturday easy run, Sunday the long run. And I did that throughout the 8 weeks of training that I did leading up to Little Rock Marathon. So just to give you guys a short snippet about what my speed work and tempo work looked like, because those were the hardest days. My speed work would be, it could be 12 400s, it could be 10 800s. It eventually got longer up to 2 by 3 mile repeats. So usually it'd be about 6 miles of speed work with a short interval of rest in between. So for instance, if I did 12 400s, I would do a 400 in between each of those at a slow pace of anywhere from 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. And then my last workout of speed work, which was so awesome, was 6 by 1 mile repeats, which is one of my favorites. That and Yasso 800s are my favorite. And then my tempo would pretty much be a 3 mile warm up, and then I would do up to 12 miles at a fast pace. So for me, the fastest I did was a 3 mile warm up, 12 miles at a 6:18 pace, I think 6:18, 6:20 pace, and then a 3 mile cool down. And that is a huge workout midweek, and that was pretty much my speed work and tempo days. And then for the long runs, pretty much easy pace, usually about 10 seconds slower than marathon race pace. So for me, that'd be like 7 minutes. And then I would throw in some goal marathon pace there at the end. In my longest run, I did 3:20s during my training for that. So the training was incredible. Battled a couple injuries here and there, a little bit of Achilles pain, a little bit of plantar pain leading up to the race, but definitely did not hinder me. So then we finally get to what you guys probably wanted to see in this video is, did I qualify for the Boston Marathon and how did my race go? So taper week was awesome, carb loaded, awesome. I can do videos on that stuff later, but then the race. So I get up to the race, get up race day morning. I feel like $1,000,000. I feel good. Mild plantar pain, nothing I'm too worried about. So show up to the race. The energy is crazy. There are tons of people there ready to run Little Rock Marathon, and the race starts, and I just start going at my nice and comfortable pace. My goal for the race was to run a 7-minute mile, the first mile, and then after that, by mile 4, get into my comfortable pace at about 6:40. And then hold 6:40 all the way up till mile 15, because at mile 15 there's a giant hill, and then just kind of coast up that hill at a comfortable pace, and then hang on till mile 22, and then if I feel good at mile 22, pick it up for the last 4 miles. Okay, so we're going. During the race, I felt really good all throughout. Hit my first mile at 7-minute pace, and then after that got into a 6:40 pace and felt good really throughout the whole thing. There wasn't any issues I was experiencing whatsoever. Mile 13, I was pretty thirsty. I don't think there was enough aid stations, but I was still able to stay hydrated and keep my electrolytes, keep taking salt tablets and keep my electrolytes where I wanted them to be. So feeling really good. So mile 13 to 15, still feeling great, kept that 6:40 pace, get to mile 15, and then there's a giant hill that everyone warned you about. Everyone says that's so terrible, but if I'm honest, I felt great. So I was running like maybe a 6:50 pace up the hill, felt really good. The hill lasts till mile 18, and I just kept that nice, comfortable pace, didn't let my heart rate spike, and was still feeling very, very good. So we get to mile 18, and this is a huge downhill, which I just kind of let my body fall, and I flew down this downhill. And then from 18 to 22, this is where I was like really thirsty. Again, I don't think there was enough aid stations, and this is kind of a funny part. So there's this guy, he had this big bucket of water, and I needed some water. And so I holler at him, I'm like, hey, could you throw me one of those waters? And he's like fumbling it around, trying to get to me while I just kind of blow by him. While I turn around, I'm like, hey, chuck it. And he throws this water, leads me perfectly. I had to pick up the pace a little bit, but like stretched my arm out, grabbed it, caught it in a dead stride, and just kept going. So feeling really good. So then we get to like mile 22. Mile 22, I'm running around a 6:40 pace, 6:45 pace, and I say, you know what, I'm gonna hold on, keep this pace. Once I hit mile 24, I'm gonna pick it up and just slam the last few miles. So still feeling good. Mile 24 comes around and I still feel good. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick up the pace now. So I try to get down to like a 6:20, 6:30 pace for the last couple miles. And then all of a sudden, both of my calves just lock up, just cramp so hard. And I couldn't make them stop cramping. I tried to stretch, I tried to like massage them out, I tried to take in extra salt tablets, I tried everything, and they just wouldn't stop. So I was like, you know what, I have a couple minutes to kind of spare, so I'm just gonna gun it and run as hard as I can with these cramps, and hopefully I make it. So I'm running more like waddling. It was pretty terrible. My watch, it said 7:30, 7:40, and I see the finish line, I see the clock, and it says 3:01:20. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm not going to qualify. And so I crossed the finish line. There's a guy running right now, right down my street. Awesome. I ended up running a 3:01:40. I was able to place 6th overall. But long story short, I did not qualify for the Boston Marathon. I missed it by 1 minute and 40 seconds. I have to say what I learned from this. One is that I do not think my calves were ready to endure all the elevation gain, and I think my hip extension was kind of weak, leading to my calves fatiguing there at the end. Kind of wonder if I wouldn't have tried to pick up the pace if I could have held on a little bit better. But that's kind of what it is. So right now, I did not qualify for the Boston Marathon. I did not break 3 hours, so still on the bucket list of something I have to do. So what's next? You know, I was trying to decide between if I'm going to try to qualify for Boston again or if I'm going to do the other goals that I had set for this year. Still a toss-up. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I do know for sure that I'm signed up for a half Ironman later this fall and a full Ironman later this fall as well. And then another thing on my bucket list was run a 50-miler. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens and what's to come. So if you guys have any questions about my marathon prep, about race day, about any of my nutrition or any of that, make sure to comment below. And if you guys are new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and then just introduce yourself in the comments. I'd love to get to know you guys. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And before I go, I want you guys to know that you are greatly, greatly loved, and that you are wonderfully and beautifully created, and that you guys are capable of far more than you could ever imagine.